Hey, and welcome back to the Luminance Guide. In today's episode, we're going to be covering the lost city of Neftet and all the quests that you can do for legendary keys. Let's get into it. Be sure to flag with these two. The rest of the NPCs are for KTs pretty much. Be careful not to disturb any wasp nests. So we're going to head into the central town where two of the legendary quests are located and a couple of the other ones. First we're going to hit up Jantheth's Release, better known as Escape. I covered this in the 180 guide, but the first thing you're going to notice is these void traps. They're on a random cycle when you enter. The way they work is they'll just shoot once, then rotate to a new angle, so you want to be able to predict the angles that they're going to shoot at, and try to jump over it. And if you hug the walls in these hallways, you can squeeze past those void bolts. If you do get hit, it's either going to be for high direct damage or a DOT. If you get the DOT, you're going to want to stop where you are and heal, or use a level 8 Dispel. First boss fight, talk to Jantheth here. Our target's going to spawn kind of right in front of where I am, waiting on it with the summon. You're aiming for the larger one with the health value of 68-65, so as you're cycling targets, that's how you can identify it. These ensorcel weapons are actually weapons, which can be item debuffed. They're also ghost type enemies and weak to acid. So like an archer with a soulbound bow and acid arrows, that's going to work, but a summon would just take them out too. Again, no healing skill, which is one of the strongest skills in the game, so I'm relying on either food or wand healing anytime I need to heal. Your health is low. Do you have any potions or food? We come to our second boss battle, which is a little more underwhelming than the first, to be honest. It's just one. Sometimes a couple can drag with you and be in this room. So again, the location of where he spawns if you want to be ready to drop your summon. And when the weapon dies, a whirlwind golem will spawn. These are super weak to cold, so you could start the fight with a cold summon, but just an imp and cold run will wreck these pretty fast. Before pulling the end boss, there are a couple more golems in here that you can take out if you want. Jantheth is a ghost type enemy and also weak to acid, so you can one-shot him with a soul-bounded ladle or crossbow crit. Talk to his ghost form for the reward, and I usually don't pull keys in this treasure room because they're going to still be a golem or two, but you can. You want to take them out. But I'm going to go ahead and take the surface to our next quest. This is portal with the light straight ahead. That's the Sanctuary of the Recluse. That's going to be Four Corners Part 2. Also a legendary track by Tommy Wright III. Part 1, you travel to the Four Corners like the name implies to flag for this last part. Alright, so what we have here is a door surrounded by a bunch of Mumaya Lords, which is pretty deadly. So you can stop here in this hallway and vault it up from a distance. And if you're ranged, you can take it out from here if you wanted to. Or you can run up and drop a summon. This Dust Golem has the key to advance in the dungeon. If you have Lockpick, you don't need it, but your summons will be on cooldown if you use them on the door, so you have a second to get it vulned. Straight ahead on the opposite side of this hall, there's gonna be a door you can lockpick if you have it, and if not, just come around, use the key. And when you're ready, use this thing in the middle to start the boss fight.
We are going to witness the most anticipated match.
So a couple things to understand. These dust golems have a spell called Flame Wave, which the farther distance you are from them, the higher damage it can deal. And second, that your survival really isn't guaranteed for any amount of time that you're fire vulned. You can die extremely fast, so that's why we bring Dispel Gems. Positioning to get my Frost Summon to take out these golems first, that's the idea. When they're all down, I'm going to use Acid on these Anak bosses. As they die, they spawn in these elemental pillars that'll cast on you. When they're down, you get a portal to the next room. Recommend dispelling Fire Vuln first though. So actually the opposite of the Dust Golems in room 1, you want to keep your distance because of a spell called Demon's Tongues here. Definitely one of the nastier spells in the game, can be a threat even if you're not Fire Vulned. And they can now vuln to fire, which actually was not in their spell list before, until recently. According to the wiki, there's supposed to be Dust Golems in this room too, which would make the fight a lot more difficult and dynamic than it is now. So Dust Golems when? Also, noticed a while back, these have a pretty good drop rate for the currency, so it might be worth the loot after the fight. Then you can surface and run north. At this end of the hall, there's a lockpick door. I'm gonna go ahead and go around. It's not a huge time save. So the thing in this dungeon is the bows, and unless they've been nerfed since I last played, they can one-shot you with a crit. So ideally you want to move so you're not giving them time to shoot on you. Eventually you'll come to this crystal room, run up and drop a summon. Couple things to be aware of. They're not really doing it now, but they can slash vuln you and chain cast on you, kill you in a few seconds. Bludge vulns can be pretty deadly too, but getting the acid vuln or getting an imp up if you're a lens user gets it down pretty quickly. Like right here, there's two bows that if you're a little slow getting through there, they could two-piece you. And just show I was healing here, so if you're a little slow getting the summon up and they do focus on you, it's a lot of damage pretty quickly. Bang, got the acid vuln up though, so the crystal's gonna go down quick. And we come to the boss, Izexi. I maybe didn't mention it, but in the four corners, the Anik bosses, you can item debuff them as well. So we're gonna be item debuffing his weapon to lower its melee demod, make our summons hit. And you can either take the treasure room, surface, or recall back to camp. Turn in behind the tent. Slave Master, I'm going to tag in Ati, my two-hander. Covered this in a couple videos, but if you have a utility belt, you can select the scrying rod, enter the command /UB space property dump. This allows you to see the location of the device, which makes the quest a lot more playable. Where it says type 218, 44126 and 44125 are the first and second spots on wiki respectively. Typically, if I don't get one of those first two spots, I hand the scrying rod to the garbage barrel next to the tent and try again. The first two spots, you take this ramp up that's around 21.4 south, 8.0 east. This quest doesn't get run a lot because of the random device, and then even then it's like kind of long and difficult to solo. Can be done in 16 something minutes. For lens two-handers at least, but I've had some fast runs with 2GAC. One of the quests though that shows how effective a lens two-hander can be for speed. Use the scrying rod to pull up the device, recall back to camp, or just run back if you don't have the recall. That's our first loom turn in right here. Then we're headed near town to the next ramp at 20.2 south, 6.8 east. Sand caves, there's two randomly spawning bosses, the Mumaya Soothsayer and Mumaya Channeler. Put them in V-Sense. Loot a yellow crystal and keep moving. The key to sand caves is pretty much just to hug right. You can find all the boss rooms that way. You should now have both a yellow and red crystal that you can recall back to camp. And back to wherever you pulled up the device with your scrying rod. Hand a crystal to the device, it'll take both for our second loom reward, then jump off toward this temple in the distance. Definitely one of the better endgame quests. You might not be doing it every set of 30, but I'd recommend trying it at least once. When you're in, you need to clear everything on the lower floor, so you can start on either side. Lens and cleave is really good here. 2GAC works. I assume War and Void Rings would be decent with the Slayers, but I don't have those Slayers to test. When everything on the lower floor is dead, you can head up these ramps. Boss doors on either end of the hall will open. I should have these in V-Sense, but this is the Bakshay Lady. Once the boss is dead, you can exit. When both bosses are down, doors in the center of the hallway will open. The Slave Master himself is neutral until you attack, so if you need a second to prepare. Hard to one cycle with summons if you resist at all because you want to get some creature in there, but with 2 players, so like 2 sets of summons, you can split up the debuff duties, pretty much always get it. Final loom turn-in, so with the trinket, our total is 32k loom, 20 MMDs, and a 5-use legendary key. That's it for Neftet. Appreciate you watching. Another video coming soon. I'm gonna try to move through this quickly if I can while I have some free time. In the meantime, if you have any questions, go ahead and ask, and as always, have an awesome rest of your day.